Let's talk about 5 big features that are confirmed for franchise mode in Madden 23. Now, I know EA Sports themselves have not put out a bunch of information yet or dove deep into franchise mode, but a couple of the bigger gaming websites have, and these are confirmed from EA Sports because a few weeks ago they were down at EA Sports where they did a presentation. I was also there, so I can confirm that this stuff is indeed true. And while franchise mode has more than the things we're going over today, and they're going to be a lot deeper than what we're going to discuss today, I just want to kind of give you guys a bit of an early preview of what you can expect for franchise mode in this year's game based on the articles that were put out. Number 1 on the list is probably the biggest thing, and it is that they are overhauling the free agency period, an area of the game that has needed an overhaul for many years. If you remember back to the glory days of Madden, the free agency period was a lot more hectic. Players weren't always the easiest to sign at times. Sometimes they had certain demands, this, that, or the third. Well, now EA Sports is finally bringing that back, something they've been known to do over the years. They kind of drop something from the game, they try to redo things in the game, features get lost, and then eventually they bring them back. Well, the free agency overhaul is finally back, and from what I can remember, it looks better than the old system that we had even in the glory days, but how EA implements it and how it works is always going to be the thing that we don't know until we play it. Last year when they introduced the scouting update, it looked great, but it had its issues, thus it didn't really deliver the way everybody wanted it to. Here's a piece of a Game Informer article that talks more about the free agency period. It says here, going into any free agent interaction, players have new motivations and tags. Motivations offer unique reasons why players might want to sign with a particular team. For example, a star wide receiver might want to play alongside a franchise quarterback. If you happen to have an elite QB on your depth chart, your chances of signing that player go up. Other motivations include playing close to home, playing on a Super Bowl contender, or even playing in a state where there's no income tax. Now, it goes much deeper than that, and like I said, I don't want to go too deep because I don't know exactly everything that I'm allowed to reveal. I'm just going to kind of go off of the stuff that's in the articles, but it goes even deeper than that in the certain things that players will want, and you'll kind of have something that would pop up on the screen like in the old days that kind of says what a player's most interested in, and it would kind of give you an idea of your chance of signing that player. Now, of course, there may be some players where you can kind of override this with money, but there's going to be some players that you just flat out cannot obtain because you don't have something that's very important to them. Now, the GameSpot website also broke some of this down too, and in their article it says here, another new wrinkle is how the free agency period plays out. Unfolding in stages has long been the case, but Madden 23 will now limit your available contract offers within each stage. An example GameSpot was given suggested the initial free agency period would allow each team to make up to 5 offers, but no more than that. In subsequent stages during the free agency period, more offers will be available. This is meant to ensure players don't thoughtlessly throw money around, even though the Jaguars do in real life. So essentially what the new system is doing is not only is it making it harder to sign players because you might need to have certain things that motivate that player to sign with you, but also you can only offer so many contracts at a time, which I think is meant to more so simulate that you can't just go out and get everybody you want. You have to be pretty strategic about who you go after, and you might not want to waste your time trying to convince someone to come to your team if the motivations aren't really as strong with that player to sign with you. Instead, you might go a little bit lower down to a lesser player that you know you definitely have a chance to sign because you don't want to miss out on him. And of course, in the later stages, you're going to be able to offer stuff to anybody because at that point, all the good players are gone and now you just have to fill out the rest of your roster, so there obviously can't be a limit at that point. Now, once again, this goes even deeper than all of this, and EA is going to be breaking it down within the next week or two, so if you don't want to miss out on any of that information about franchise and everything else to do with Madden 23, make sure to subscribe and turn the bell icon on so that you don't miss my videos on that when they drop. We're trying to hit 500K before Madden 23 comes out, and if everybody watching just subscribed, we would hit that number today. Number 2 on the list are new player roles / tags. Now, I don't know which one they're officially calling it because some sites call them player roles, some sites are calling them player tags, but we kind of talked about this in the free agency portion of the video just a second ago where different players will have different motivations, but it goes deeper than just the free agency period. Now, the free agency period is an area where it's going to definitely play a big factor because, again, a receiver might want to sign to a team with a top QB. A top player might want to sign with a Super Bowl contender. A player like Jarvis Landry, for example, that just signed with my Saints, he wanted to come back home where he grew up and he played high school and college ball. But let's talk about how these player roles or player tags operate outside of the free agency period. There's tags such as franchise quarterback, which of course is going to help you in free agency, but where this is also supposed to help is with the draft logic of the CPU teams, which is an area that we know has needed a lot of work for years. If you have a QB with the franchise quarterback tag, that team should not be going out and looking to draft a QB high in the draft until that QB winds up not living up to that tag tag and then he loses it because he's no longer considered a franchise quarterback. So if you drafted Trevor Lawrence, for example, until he proves that he can't be the franchise quarterback in those early years, he's going to still have that tag because that's who he was drafted to be. There's also tags for some of those veteran players, which is going to be a mentor tag, which will help get additional experience and XP bonuses for players in their position group. So think of a guy maybe like Tyrann Mathieu, again, talking about my Saints again, but he just signed with the Saints. He would probably be considered a mentor player, and he could help upgrade maybe the defensive backs, or even if it's just the safeties, he can help upgrade them more because he's that type of player that's been in the league and he can help those guys. There's also a tag called award winner, which can heavily weigh how free agent negotiations with that player goes. If he is a Pro Bowler or a guy that's won an MVP, obviously he's going to want more money. Number 3 on the list is they are updating contracts finally. Now, I don't think this one's going to go as in depth as franchise players want, but EA again has not spoken too in depth on it yet. But what we do know based on the articles is that there's kind of going to be some new preset contracts that you can deliver to players. There's going to be a player-friendly contract, a team-friendly contract, a neutral contract, and a max contract. Those are going to be your 4 basic contracts that you would see in real life, and that's going to now be in the game, and you can give these contracts to players based on where they fit. And it's kind of more of a template, I guess you could say, to kind of guide you to what a fair deal is based on the position you're in and the player you're trying to sign. You can also tweak these to your liking if you want to add or subtract money to them, but I don't believe it's going quite as in depth as front loading and back loading yet. That is kind of the idea that I got, but they kind of suggested that is something that they plan to do in the near future, maybe in a title update, maybe it's next year's game, but we do know that they have heard the feedback around contracts and they're starting to do more with them. So while we don't know the whole gist of the contract thing yet, we do know that there are going to be new contract options for this year's franchise mode. Number 4 on the list is they are enhancing the new scouting system that was put into the game last year. And as you know, the scouting system didn't really land perfectly because while it did give you a lot more to do, it gave you a little bit more freedom and it gave you more information. It didn't always give you the right information, and that was a big problem. Going back to the Game Informer article, they said here, a large focus of last year's post-launch updates was the scouting system. While EA implemented welcome changes on how you scope out the college talent, the studio didn't quite get it right on the first attempt. The Madden team is taking what worked about last year and expanding it this year. Now you have more scouts in the pool, the ability to scout multiple positions at once, weighted attribute reveals showing skills relevant to their position, more unique draft classes, and 3D models in the player cards. Top that off with better user interface and the scouting hub improvements, and scouting joins the rest of the franchise package as one of the most promising parts of Madden 23. Now, some of this stuff we've definitely heard before, more unique draft classes. Stop me if you've heard that like every single year. I think they definitely did get a little better last year, but it's still an area that leaves a lot to be desired. So hopefully this year it's a much better step forward than it has been in some of these past years. But I think the biggest thing here is they've recognized the problems that the system had and they changed it while also adding the ability to hire more scouts and draft more positions so you can find out more about more players this time around, but also revealing the proper attributes per position. So if you have a quarterback, you don't really care that much about his spin rating or his break tackle. You need to know his throw power and his accuracy and his throw on the run, and that's what should be happening this year in Madden 23. Number 5 on the list is something brand new to Madden, and that is rollover cap. You can now roll over your cap space into the next year. Looking at the GameSpot article, it says, for players who want to pinch pennies more often than throw them into the wind, Madden 23 will also feature rollover cap for the first time. Though the specifics are still a bit fuzzy until I see it in action, it was explained to me that unused cap space can be applied toward the following league year, giving Madden players more flexibility in how they build their team. I'm curious to learn precisely when this rollover occurs and what happens in years further down the line, but with what I know so far, it's a welcome addition. Again, we're gonna find out a lot more than just this about franchise mode within the next 2 weeks, so make sure to subscribe and check out this video right here where I break down everything you need to know about Madden 23's gameplay.